Claire stood quietly on the second-floor balcony, her hand gently resting on the railing. Her son, Noah, stood beside her, looking up at her with worried eyes. The cool breeze from the ocean, not far from the city of Charleston, brushed against her face as she tried to collect herself. It had been a long day, one that had begun with hope and excitement. It was Sophie's wedding, after all, her younger sister's special day. But that hope quickly dissolved as the tension between Claire and their mother, Evelyn, became undeniable. Earlier in the day, which city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And hey, make sure you watch till the end. Something's going to happen that you won't see coming. Claire had tried her best to make it work. She had put on a smile, reassured Noah, and helped Sophie with the final touches for her big day. But when they arrived at the reception, everything shifted. Evelyn's cold reception was the first sign that things were not going to go smoothly. "Claire, you're late," Evelyn had said, the harshness of her words cutting through the air like a knife. There was no warmth, no recognition of the effort Claire had put into being there. Instead, Evelyn's eyes scanned Claire's outfit with a disapproving frown. Claire had worn a simple, elegant dress, something that was appropriate for the occasion. But Evelyn didn't seem to think so. "Mom, it's fine," Claire had responded, trying to brush off the criticism. "I'm here now, and I just want to enjoy the day." But Evelyn's response was quick and dismissive. "We'll see about that," she muttered under her breath as she turned away. The awkwardness didn't end there. As the wedding party gathered for the group photos, Evelyn stepped in, blocking Claire and Noah from being included. She ushered them to the side, telling them that they were not part of the immediate family for this shot. "Mom, what are you doing?" Sophie had asked, her confusion clear. "Claire, Noah, come on." But Evelyn's words were final. "I've already spoken with the photographer. You're not needed here." Claire's heart sank. It wasn't the first time Evelyn had treated her like this, but something about today, of all days, made it feel especially cruel. She tried to mask the pain, but Noah had noticed. "Why can't we be in the picture, Mom?" he had asked, his voice filled with confusion. Claire had forced a smile and brushed it off. "It's complicated, sweetheart. Don't worry about it." But how could she not worry? As she stood on that balcony now, she couldn't escape the sense of being an outsider in her own family. Evelyn had always treated her as if she didn't belong, as if she were less than her perfect image of what a family should look like. And Noah had to witness it. He shouldn't have to see his mother treated this way. "Noah, we'll go down soon," Claire said, her voice a little shaky as she leaned down to kiss his forehead. Noah looked up at her, his small hand holding hers tightly. "I don't want to go back down there. It feels like nobody wants us." Claire's heart clenched, and she squeezed his hand. "I know, sweetheart, but it'll be okay. Let's just give it a little time." The moment of quiet was interrupted when the door opened, and a man stepped onto the balcony. It was Charles Mason's father, looking as dignified as ever. I thought I might find you here," he said softly, his warm tone cutting through the tension in the room. Claire turned toward him, trying to compose herself. "Charles," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Charles smiled kindly. "It's a big day for everyone, isn't it?" Claire nodded, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's been complicated." Charles stepped closer and crouched down to Noah's level. "You've been very brave today," he said, his voice filled with gentle warmth. "Not everyone can handle family dynamics like this." Noah nodded but didn't say anything. He wasn't interested in talking about it. Claire could see the sadness in his eyes, the confusion. She wished she could take it all away for him. Turning back to Claire, Charles said, "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." "You and Noah are part of this family now, whether Evelyn likes it or not." Claire blinked, a lump forming in her throat. She had never expected that kind of support from Charles, but it meant the world to her right now. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I didn't expect this. After everything today, I didn't think anyone in this family would care." Charles raised an eyebrow, his eyes narrowing in thought. "Well, we do, and I'll make sure Evelyn knows that." Claire looked out over the city, the distant lights from Charleston's skyline twinkling in the evening haze. She didn't know what the future held, but at least for now, she had Charles's support. That meant more than she had expected. After a moment of silence, she spoke again. "I don't know what's going to happen next, Charles. I really don't. But Noah and I can't keep living like this." Charles's expression softened. I understand. And you don't have to. The reception hall downstairs was buzzing with activity. The sound of laughter and clinking glasses filled the air as the guests danced and celebrated, but Claire couldn't shake the feeling of isolation. She had spent years trying to fit into her mother's perfect picture of family, and yet, it was never enough. She had always been the disappointment, the one who didn't live up to Evelyn's expectations. The one who was never quite good enough. Claire had built her life around this constant need for approval. But at what cost? As the evening wore on, Claire found herself standing alone in the corner of the hall, watching Sophie dance with Mason, the couple lost in their own world of happiness. Claire should have been happy for her sister, and she was, in a way. But there was a nagging emptiness inside her, the feeling that her own happiness was always just out of reach. Noah was playing with some of the other children in a corner of the room, his laughter a welcome sound. She watched him for a moment, feeling a pang of guilt. She had always wanted to protect him from the toxicity of her family, but sometimes it felt impossible. Mom, you're not dancing? Came a voice from behind her. Claire turned to see her best friend, Jessica, standing there with a bright smile on her face. Jessica had been a constant source of support over the years, someone who never judged her for the complicated dynamics with her family. Not really in the mood, Claire replied with a small forced smile. Just taking it all in. Jessica raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying the excuse. You've been avoiding Evelyn all night. What happened this time? Claire sighed, feeling the weight of the question. Same old. She doesn't like me being here, and she doesn't like Noah being here. Jessica's expression softened. She's not worth your energy, Claire. You know that, right? Claire nodded, though her heart didn't quite believe it. I just don't know how much longer I can keep pretending like this. Jessica reached out and gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. You don't have to pretend anymore. You and Noah deserve better than that. If that means cutting ties, then so be it. No one should make you feel like you don't belong. Claire looked up at Jessica, the weight of her words sinking in. She had heard this advice before, but tonight, it felt like it had a new meaning. I don't want to lose my family though. I don't want to lose Sophie. Jessica nodded understandingly. You won't lose Sophie. She loves you. But you can't keep sacrificing your happiness for Evelyn's approval. It's not worth it. Claire thought about her sister. Sophie had always been the golden child in their mother's eyes, the one who could do no wrong. And yet, despite everything, Sophie had always been there for Claire. They shared a bond that nothing could break. Thanks, Jessica, Claire said softly, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I don't know what I'd do without you. Jessica smiled warmly. You don't have to do this alone, Claire. You've got people who care about you. Just then, Noah ran up to Claire, his face flushed with excitement. Mom, look, I won the game. Claire smiled down at her son, her heart swelling with pride. He had a way of bringing light into the darkest of moments. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart, she said, bending down to kiss his forehead. Noah grinned and took her hand. Can we go now? I don't want to stay here anymore. Claire's heart ached at the plea in his voice. She could see the weariness in his eyes, the fatigue of trying to understand a family that didn't make sense. She was torn. She wanted to leave, to escape this suffocating atmosphere. But at the same time, she didn't want to leave Sophie behind. Before she could respond, a voice interrupted her thoughts. Claire, we need to talk. It was Evelyn. Claire's stomach tightened at the sound of her mother's voice. She had hoped to avoid this moment, but it seemed inevitable. She turned to face Evelyn, who stood with an icy expression on her face. Not now, Mom, Claire said, her voice firm. I'm not in the mood. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. You think you can just walk away from everything? You think you can show up here, cause a scene, and then leave without any consequences? Claire felt a surge of frustration rise within her. What are you talking about? You've made it clear that I'm not welcome here, so why don't you just let me go? Evelyn stepped closer, her voice cold. You don't get to walk away from this. You don't get to destroy everything and then leave without facing the consequences. Claire's heart raced, but she stood her ground. I didn't destroy anything, Mom. I just tried to live my life. I'm sorry if that doesn't fit your perfect picture. Evelyn's face contorted in anger. You've always been a disappointment, Claire. Always trying to do things your way. You never listen. You never understand the importance of family. Claire took a deep breath, her mind racing. For years, she had tried to be the daughter Evelyn wanted. She had done everything to please her, but nothing was ever enough. And now, standing here, she realized that it never would be. You know what, Mom? Claire said, her voice calm but filled with conviction. I'm done. I'm done trying to fit into your world. I'm done trying to earn your approval. From now on, I'm living for me and Noah. Evelyn's face turned pale. You're making a mistake. No, I'm not, Claire said firmly. I'm finally taking control of my own life. And if that means stepping away from you and your toxic expectations, then so be it. She turned to Noah, who was waiting patiently by her side. Let's go, sweetie. Noah nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. I'm ready, Mom. And with that, they left. Claire knew it wasn't the end of everything. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in a long time, she felt free. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Claire. She had made the decision to finally distance herself from Evelyn and everything that came with it. But even as she moved into a new chapter of her life, the weight of her decision lingered in the back of her mind. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing, but for the first time, she felt like she was putting herself first. Sophie had tried to reach out a few times, but Claire had kept her distance. It wasn't that she didn't love her sister, she did, more than anything, but Claire couldn't keep living in a world where Evelyn's approval was everything. Sophie had always been the golden child, the one who never had to prove herself, and Claire couldn't keep pretending that it didn't hurt. One afternoon, Claire sat in her living room, her legs tucked up underneath her as she sipped a cup of tea. Noah was playing in the corner, and for the first time in a long while, the silence felt peaceful. She was adjusting to the quiet moments, finding comfort in the small things, like Noah's laughter or the sound of birds outside the window. The doorbell rang, cutting through the calm. Claire set down her tea and stood up, her heart beating a little faster as she walked to the door. She didn't know who it could be, maybe Sophie, or even Evelyn trying to force her way back into her life. When she opened the door, she was surprised to find a letter on the doorstep, addressed to her in neat handwriting. She bent down to pick it up, her fingers trembling as she saw who it was from. It was from Evelyn. Taking a deep breath, Claire opened the letter. Claire, I don't know what to say to make this right, but I need you to understand something. I've spent so many years thinking I was doing the right thing, thinking that I was protecting our family, but I see now how much I've hurt you. I've pushed you away when all you ever wanted was to be seen, to be accepted. For that, I am deeply sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I know I've lost your trust, and I can't change the past. But I want to try, Claire. I want to try to make things better, for your sake, for Noah's, and for the future. I know this letter can't undo what I've done, but I want you to know I am willing to try. If you are, I don't expect you to come back right away, or even to forgive me. But I hope, someday, you will allow me the chance to make amends. With love, Evelyn. Claire stood there, holding the letter in her hand, her mind racing. She felt a rush of emotions flood her all at once: anger, sorrow, and something else she hadn't expected: hope. Could she forgive her mother? Could she ever rebuild a relationship with Evelyn, knowing everything that had happened? She didn't know, but for the first time in a long time, she felt a tiny flicker of possibility. She folded the letter carefully and tucked it into her pocket. As she turned back into the house, Noah looked up from his game. Mom, who was that? Claire smiled softly, kneeling down beside him. Just a letter from Grandma. Noah tilted his head, his eyes searching hers. What did she say? Claire took a deep breath. She apologized, sweetie, but it's going to take time to figure out what happens next. Noah nodded, his expression thoughtful. I don't know if I'm ready for Grandma to come back, but I want you to be happy, Mom. Claire's heart swelled. I'll figure it out, Noah. I promise. The following week, Claire decided to take some time for herself. She packed a bag for Noah, and they headed out to the beach for a weekend away. It was a chance for her to clear her head, to think about everything that had happened, and to figure out what she really wanted. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore was soothing, and the salty air felt good against her skin. As they walked along the beach, Noah's small hand in hers, Claire realized how much she had been missing these simple moments. She didn't need the approval of anyone else. All she needed was Noah and the peaceful, quiet life they were building together. But as the weekend came to a close, Claire's phone buzzed with a message. It was from Sophie. Claire, I need to see you. Can we meet? Claire hesitated for a moment, her thumb hovering over the screen. She didn't know if she was ready to face Sophie yet, not after everything that had happened. But she also knew that avoiding her wasn't going to fix anything. She sent a reply, agreeing to meet at a cafe in town. The next day, they sat across from each other at a small table in the local cafe. Sophie looked different, older, more serious. The carefree younger sister Claire had known seemed to have vanished, replaced by someone who was clearly carrying a lot of weight on her shoulders. "I've missed you, Claire," Sophie said, her voice quiet. "I know things have been complicated between us, and I don't blame you for being angry." Claire shook her head. "I'm not angry, Sophie. I'm just confused. I don't know how we're supposed to move forward." Sophie reached across the table and took Claire's hand. "We'll figure it out. I promise. I've always been there for you, even when it didn't feel like it. And I always will be." Claire's heart softened at her sister's words. It was hard to admit, but she had missed Sophie too. Their bond had always been strong, even if it had been strained by their mother's expectations. "I just don't know if I can forgive her," Claire whispered. "After everything that's happened, I don't know how to let go of the hurt." Sophie nodded, her expression understanding. "I know, but maybe, just maybe, forgiveness isn't about letting her off the hook. Maybe it's about freeing yourself." Claire looked into her sister's eyes, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of hope. Maybe they could rebuild their family, step by step, if they were willing to try. The months that followed felt like a slow but steady journey for Claire. She took the time to process everything: her feelings for Evelyn, the fractured relationship with Sophie, and her newfound sense of independence. But one thing was clear: she was done living in the shadow of expectations. She had built a life for herself and Noah, and she was proud of that. Claire's days became more peaceful, filled with moments that reminded her of what truly mattered: Noah's laughter, the warmth of her home, and the occasional visits from friends who truly cared about her well-being. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. One evening, as Claire tucked Noah into bed, there was a knock on the door. She wasn't expecting anyone, so she hesitated for a moment. But when she opened the door, there stood Sophie, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "I didn't know if you'd want to see me," Sophie said quietly, her voice tinged with hesitation. "But I wanted to check on you. How are you?" Claire stepped aside to let her sister in, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. Sophie had always been the one who knew how to show up, even when things were tough. It was clear that her sister was trying, just as much as she was. "I'm doing okay," Claire replied, leading Sophie to the living room. "It's been a journey, but I'm getting there." Sophie sat down on the couch and looked at Claire with concern. "I know things haven't been easy. I've thought a lot about what you said, about Mom, about everything. And I want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what." Claire sat down beside her, feeling a lump form in her throat. The tension between them had been palpable for so long, and it was nice to feel a shift. Sophie hadn't always understood her struggle, but now it felt like they were on the same page. "I don't know if I can ever truly forgive Mom for everything," Claire admitted softly, "but I'm learning how to let go of the anger. I'm trying to build something better for Noah, and I think that's enough for now." Sophie nodded, a sad smile on her face. "I understand. I think Mom is doing the same, in her own way. She's been seeing a therapist, trying to understand why she did the things she did. I don't know if that makes it better, but it's a start." Claire felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. Evelyn's actions had caused so much pain, but maybe, just maybe, they could start rebuilding the pieces of their broken family. She didn't know what the future held, but she was open to whatever came next. A few days later, Claire found herself sitting at her desk, looking over some design proposals for a new project. Her business had continued to grow steadily, and she felt proud of the work she had put into building something from the ground up. It wasn't the life she had once imagined, but it was hers, and she was starting to truly embrace it. Noah came running into the room, his face lighting up with excitement. "Mom, guess what?" Claire smiled, setting aside her work. "What is it, sweetheart?" "I got an invitation to join a science club at school. They want me to help with a big project about the environment," he exclaimed. Claire's heart swelled with pride. Noah had always been passionate about science, and seeing him thrive made all the struggles worth it. She reached out to ruffle his hair. "That's amazing, Noah. I'm so proud of you." Noah beamed, his eyes sparkling with joy. "I'm going to help make the world better, Mom. Just like you." Claire's throat tightened at his words. She had worked so hard to build a life that was meaningful, a life where she could show Noah the importance of compassion, of standing up for what was right. And now, he was taking those lessons to heart. Later that week, Claire received another letter. This time, it was from Evelyn. It had been weeks since the last one, and Claire had been trying to make peace with the idea of moving forward without her mother. But something about the letter made her hesitate. She sat at her kitchen table and opened it, reading the familiar, neat handwriting. Claire, I know it's been some time since we last spoke, and I don't want to push you into anything. But I wanted to let you know that I've been reflecting on everything, on what I've done and how I've hurt you. I've been going to therapy, and it's helping me understand myself better, helping me see the ways in which I've failed. You and Noah, I know I can't change the past, but I want you to know I'm committed to making things right, even if it takes time. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm just asking for a chance to be a part of your life again, whenever you're ready. With love, Evelyn. Claire folded the letter and set it down on the table. She didn't know what to do with it. She had thought she was ready to close that chapter, but something in Evelyn's words made her hesitate. Could she forgive her? Could she let her back in, even a little? For now, Claire decided to put the letter aside. It wasn't that she didn't want to forgive her mother. She just needed more time. The wounds were still fresh, and her priority was Noah and the life they were building together. The following weekend, Claire decided to take Noah on a trip to the park. As they walked hand in hand, Claire felt the weight of the past lift just a little bit more. She didn't have all the answers, and maybe she never would. But for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path. Sophie had called earlier that day, asking if they could all meet for dinner soon. Claire agreed, hoping that this new chapter in their lives would bring them closer together. No matter the challenges. As they arrived at the park, Noah ran ahead to join some of his friends. Claire stood there, watching him with a content smile. She had come so far, and though the road was far from easy, she knew that the future held promise, one step at a time.